The legalization of recreational cannabis in various states across the United States has been one of the most significant policy shifts in recent decades. With states like Colorado and Washington leading the way in 2012, many others have since followed suit, including California, Oregon, and Illinois. Today, more than 20 states have legalized marijuana for recreational use, with even more permitting it for medical purposes. The question now is, has legalized weed been a success in America? To answer that, we need to examine several key areas, including economic impacts, social justice, public health, and how it has affected law enforcement. Economically, the legalization of cannabis has been an undeniable success. In states where it is legal, cannabis has grown into a multi-billion-dollar industry, creating thousands of jobs, generating significant tax revenue, and attracting investment. Colorado, one of the first states to legalize recreational cannabis, has reported over $15 billion in sales since legalization, generating more than $1.5 billion in tax revenue. This influx of revenue has been used to fund public services such as education, infrastructure, and drug abuse treatment programs. California, the largest legal cannabis market in the world, is expected to generate over $6 billion in annual sales by 2025, further demonstrating the economic potential of legalized marijuana. In addition to the direct economic benefits, legalization has created a ripple effect in related industries, such as agriculture, retail, security, and tourism. Cannabis-related businesses, from dispensaries to cultivation centers, have proliferated, providing employment opportunities in regions that were economically depressed or lacking in diverse job options. Legalized cannabis has also spurred innovation, with new products like edibles, oils, and concentrates driving market growth. In states like Nevada and Colorado, cannabis tourism has become a significant draw, attracting visitors from around the world eager to experience legal marijuana use in a regulated environment. However, the economic success of legalized cannabis has not been without its challenges. The cannabis industry remains heavily regulated and taxed, which has driven up the cost of legal weed. This, in turn, has allowed the black market to persist in some areas, as illegal cannabis remains cheaper than its legal counterpart. In California, for example, it's estimated that the black market still accounts for a substantial portion of cannabis sales, despite legalization. Many legal businesses also face difficulties with banking, as marijuana remains illegal at the federal level, which limits access to financial services and forces many companies to operate on a cash-only basis. One of the primary motivations behind cannabis legalization was to address social justice issues, particularly the disproportionate impact of marijuana criminalization on minority communities. Prior to legalization, people of color, especially Black and Hispanic Americans, were far more likely to be arrested and incarcerated for marijuana-related offenses, despite similar rates of use compared to white individuals. Legalization has significantly reduced the number of cannabis-related arrests and convictions, leading to a decline in the overall incarceration rate for drug offenses. In some states, legalization has also been accompanied by efforts to expunge or seal the criminal records of those previously convicted of low-level marijuana offenses. This has been an important step toward correcting the injustices of the war on drugs, which disproportionately affected marginalized communities. In Illinois, for example, over 700,000 cannabis-related convictions have been expunged or pardoned since the state legalized recreational marijuana in 2020. Other states, such as California and New York, have implemented similar measures, aiming to provide relief to those who were unfairly targeted by previous drug laws. Nevertheless, the social justice goals of cannabis legalization have not been fully realized. While legalization has led to fewer arrests overall, racial disparities in cannabis-related arrests persist in many states. Data from states like Colorado and Washington show that Black and Hispanic people are still more likely to be arrested for marijuana-related offenses, such as public consumption, than their white counterparts. Additionally, minority-owned businesses are underrepresented in the legal cannabis industry, despite efforts to promote equity through programs designed to support entrepreneurs from communities disproportionately affected by criminalization. Public health outcomes related to cannabis legalization have been mixed. One of the main concerns raised by opponents of legalization was the potential for increased cannabis use, particularly among young people. However, studies in states like Colorado and Washington have shown that while adult cannabis use has increased, rates of use among teenagers have remained relatively stable or even declined slightly. This suggests that fears of widespread adolescent use due to legalization have not materialized. On the other hand, cannabis-related health issues, such as an increase in emergency room visits for overconsumption of edibles and other products, have been reported in states where marijuana is legal. These incidents are often due to the delayed effects of edibles, which can lead to accidental overconsumption. Public health campaigns have been launched in many states to educate consumers about safe and responsible cannabis use. But challenges remain in ensuring that the public is fully informed about the potential risks of cannabis consumption. One of the positive public health impacts of legalization has been the decline in opioid-related deaths in some states. Research suggests that access to legal cannabis has been associated with a reduction in opioid use, as some individuals turn to cannabis as an alternative for managing chronic pain. This is particularly significant given the ongoing opioid crisis in the United States, which has claimed hundreds of thousands of lives over the past 2 decades. In terms of law enforcement, legalization has allowed police departments to focus resources on more serious crimes rather than low-level drug offenses. Arrests for cannabis-related offenses have plummeted in states that have legalized marijuana, freeing up time and resources for law enforcement to address other public safety concerns. However, legalization has also presented new challenges, particularly in relation to driving under the influence of cannabis. While most states have implemented laws to penalize driving while impaired by marijuana, determining impairment levels for cannabis is more difficult than for alcohol, and law enforcement agencies are still working to develop reliable roadside testing methods. Another concern is the cross-border transport of legal cannabis into neighboring states where marijuana remains illegal. States that have not legalized cannabis, such as Idaho and Nebraska, have reported increased incidents of marijuana trafficking from neighboring states like Colorado and Oregon. This has raised questions about the challenges of regulating cannabis in a country where marijuana laws vary significantly from state to state. So ultimately, the success of legalized weed in America depends largely on the criteria used to measure it. From an economic standpoint, legalization has been a major success, generating significant tax revenue, creating jobs, and boosting local economies. It has also led to progress in addressing social justice issues, though racial disparities and access to the legal cannabis industry remain challenges. Public health outcomes have been mixed, but fears of increased adolescent use have not been realized. Law enforcement has benefited from fewer cannabis-related arrests, though challenges remain regarding impaired driving and interstate trafficking. Overall, while cannabis legalization has had its ups and downs, it has brought about more benefits than drawbacks, particularly in terms of economic growth and criminal justice reform. Join us tomorrow for an analysis of why the cannabis industry has stalled in Canada and a look at whether the same thing will happen in America. Hit that subscribe button before heading off to make sure you don't miss it or any of our future videos.